Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 246 of Nintendo Pow Block. I am your host, Dan Murphy, and I'm sitting in for Eddie V again. He will be back next week, everybody, so don't miss him too much. And recently, it was the 20th anniversary of the GameCube being announced at E3, so we're going to be talking all about the GameCube, its legacy, and what it meant to us in our dock mode. Plus, we'll be talking about Mario Golf in our news segment. But before we get to all of this, let's introduce today's panel. First up, we got the editor-in-chief of BossRushGames.com, Mr. David Lasby.
Hey, everybody. Happy Monday. We miss you, Ed.
Very special guest today, award-winning author Stephanie Klimov.
Oh, I even got a very thrown in there. Thank you.
Oh,
Happy
yeah.
to be here.
Good. How's everybody doing today?
It's been a Monday.
Yes, an epic one for sure.
Yeah, I kind of feel that. I've had that Monday blues kind of thing. My weekend just went by too fast, so.
In a good way?
Yeah, I don't even remember. It just happened so fast. I did do a cookout on Saturday, so that was fun.
Yes.
You know, now that they kind of lifted all the vaccination rules and everything, it was good to just be in a big group again.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys do anything fun?
Yeah, I mean, we're getting to that time of year where we have a brief break from the rain in Seattle. And so it was like actually nice and sunny. It was like 80 degrees and it was the same thing. I just spent so much time outside. We have like 2 months that are the dry season in Seattle, and then it's just drizzly and rainy the rest of the year. And so we're getting to that sweet spot. So I'm loving it.
Nice. 2 months. I thought it was more like 10 days. So
Yeah, feels like it sometimes.
I mean, you're from Massachusetts, so you only get about 14 days.
exactly. Just a little bit different. But yeah, in good old Massachusetts, I'm starting to feel that New England weather where we just went from wicked cold to now it's hot and humid and I'm burning to a crisp in the sun working in the garden. I'm like, why? So, but that's what I did. I worked in my garden with my son and I. Also because of the vaccine, all the COVID restrictions, stuff like that. I was able to take my son to a kid's outdoor birthday party. It was just like immediate family, so it was a small group, but it was still like other humans in an environment having fun. And I introduced my kid to the piñata, and that's always a good time.
Ooh, how'd he do?
Awesome.
He did. He was upset he didn't break it the first time. I'm like, that's the fun of it. He took it a little too personally. I'm like, we'll work on it.
Big expectations starting out.
Yeah. He was actually like working it like a joust. He wasn't swinging it like a bat. I'm like, what do you do? He's trying to like pierce it.
Watching too many night movies, huh?
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. Let's get into a little bit of housekeeping before we get started. So Nintendo Pow Block airs on Twitch on twitch.tv Boss Rush Games Live every Monday night at 8:30 Eastern Time. If you can't make it to our live show, you can find our podcast uploaded every Wednesday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere else you listen to podcasts. Please be sure to join our growing community on Twitter or Facebook at Pow Block Podcast, where you'll find a link for our Discord community. And if you like our show enough and want to discover a few more that are just like it, you can pop over to our parent network website at www.bossrushgames.com to discover our network of podcasts or read some great articles. And before we get into Snacktendo, I'll just do a quick shout out. Today's shout out goes to Shane. Shane from Another Zelda podcast. He's always active on our Discord showing us cool food, and he's usually on our live shows too, which we're not recording live tonight. So sorry about that, Shane. But thanks for everything. If you guys want to be shouted out, just leave us a review, be a little active in our network, and we'll talk about you here. So let's get into Snacktendo. Stephanie, kick it off.
First of all, Ed will be very proud of you. You've done a great job so far. I got to laugh a little quieter. My son just told me that I need to be quiet. So, so excuse me.
Boss of the house.
Yeah. So I bought a limited edition s'mores flavored Oreos. I have never seen them before. I love Oreos and I love s'mores. So I'm like, I wonder how they'll be able to pull it off. So the cracker part, well, it's going to be graham cracker and they have the flavors on the inside. It wasn't bad. Like I'll eat them just as a snack, whatever. But it's really tough if you're going for the s'mores flavor. But I'm still glad I tried it. So, other than that, let me see. What did I even cook? I'm trying to even figure out. I had the Impossible Burger. I threw that on the grill. It's grill season now, and I'm a
Yes.
big meat eater. But just I want to throw in some, more veggie meals my way. So, and I heard a lot about the Impossible Burger. I don't really need my veggie burger to look like it's bleeding. I don't need that
It
extra
really does.
feature.
The impossible.
Yeah, and I'm like, that's not natural. Plants don't well, okay, but I get it because it tastes awesome. I wouldn't have known the
Mhm.
difference. In fact, I just kind of threw something together where I also grilled Impossible Burger, broke it up a bit. I made a wrap out of it with like Dijon mustard, mayo,
Mm.
ketchup, and cheese, which sounds kind of weird throwing it all in one wrap, but it's actually very good. And then
Nice.
some Pringles. Pringles are my favorite kind of chip. So
Oh, I'm a big Pringle guy too.
yeah, so.
Um, yeah, I had a cookout too, so grilling was kind of up our alley there. Um, I figured I really needed to step it up this week in Snacktendo since I let everybody down every single week. So this isn't even that exciting. I don't know why I'm building it up, but I had chocolate hummus the other
No,
day. Have you guys had chocolate hummus?
I have
I
not.
have.
It is unbelievable. It's like one of the best things I've ever had. It's like, so I use the pretzel crisps and like, I don't know, chickpeas and chocolate. It kind of doesn't make sense
Mhm.
when you think about it, but when you get into it, man, it is so good. I ate the entire thing. So if anybody hasn't tried chocolate hummus, go out there and get some and like use strawberries or pretzel crisps because it's
Mm,
amazing.
Pretzels
right.
are so good with chocolate hummus.
Yeah, awesome.
All right,
Uh,
that's on my shopping list.
yeah. What about you, David?
Well, I also had the Impossible Burger. I mean, that's a pretty normal staple around my house, being vegan, but and it's grill season. But my favorite things that we made this week, we made a Thai peanut noodle dish, but we kind of fused it a little bit with some Mexican flavors, so it was kind of interesting. So with the peanut noodle dish, we marinated some chili lime tofu and then grilled it. So it was pretty firm. And I was a little skeptical about mixing these things, but it was a recipe somebody recommended and it was incredible. Like all those flavors mixed together so well and I loved it. So peanut noodle dish with chili lime tofu ended up being great. And then as far as treats go, I'm watching all the way through the Marvel Cinematic Universe with my kids from, kind of beginning to end. So we just watched Captain Marvel this weekend, and I bought some 100 grand bars, which
Oh, those are my
not
favorite candy
exactly
bar.
vegan, but it's my one like cheat that I'll do. And yeah, I love the like crackle or whatever that is in there. It's just so good. So that was kind of my treat. So
Nice, nice. Um, all
what about
right.
you?
Well,
Oh, you already talked about yours. That's
yeah, yeah. All right. I hope Ed is proud of us, and I can't wait to get his uh, feedback from all that snack tendo. But we're gonna head straight over to family news. So, David, take it away.
Yeah, boy, it was quite the week for news when I was preparing for the show this week. I had to filter through a lot of stories that were really incredible ones that we didn't get a chance to talk about. So honorable mention to the rumor that a 2D Metroid has finished production and is awaiting announcement. We'll see if that one's really true or not.
They've been
But
saying that for a year and a half.
apparently this has a little more legs to it. We'll see. So but we have some news stories that actually connect back to some previous weeks. So it's some follow-up stories that I'm kind of excited about. A few weeks ago we talked about in Australia one of the businesses there having a custom Mario golf ball that they were selling as a pre-order bonus, and we were venting our frustrations that US retailers weren't doing any kind of pre-order bonus. Well, no longer need to be frustrated. So GameStop reveals Mario Golf Super Rush pre-order pin sets. So this is out of mynintendonews.com. Nintendo and GameStop have revealed the pre-order gift for the next entry in the Mario Golf franchise, Mario Golf Super Rush. Those of you who purchase the Nintendo Switch game from the North American retailer will be entitled to receive a special pin set, which you can view by going to mynintendonews.com or other sources covering the story. Mario Golf Super Rush is due to be released on the 25th of June. As always, the pins will be available while supplies last. So lots to talk about here. And of course, we got some added benefit to this story. Just today is, Monday that we're recording this, Nintendo released a brand new full-length trailer about the game with lots of details. In fact, Dan Murphy has a nice write-up on bossrushgames.com. You can check that out. But I wanted to ask you all what you think about this. Why are pins, particularly Nintendo pins, such a collector's item? I know that for the Mario Anniversary, we had that Mario Anniversary set. They immediately sold out. A lot of people are pretty salty they never got their pin set, me included. Why do people love this stuff so much? Stephanie, what do you think?
Oh man, when I read that news article, I was excited. Not that I wasn't planning on purchasing Mario Golf when it came out, but I didn't have that incentive to, pre-order it and, get in line immediately. And I remember listening to that podcast episode, and I forgot who said it. It's like, yeah, I would love a golf ball and and stuff like that. And I don't even play golf like in real life, but I would totally get it just for a golf ball. But I'm actually happy that we're getting a pin set instead, because again, I don't play golf. But I think that kind of goes into what you just talked about is I think there's just something about a pin set that's very, quirky, unique, and small. It's like the collectible. That's one thing I think Nintendo is very good at is providing collectibles or games that are collectibles. Think Pokemon or something. And, again, it's small, like the younger kids can put it on their backpacks or something like that. So I just think there is a pride to collecting these items versus, again, I'm not knocking on a free golf ball that's Mario Golf related, but I think that's just really popular with Nintendo fans. So
yeah, and I wonder too, and Dan, I want to get your opinion on this, but I wonder if Nintendo has a little bit of a different relationship with its IPs than say Sony or Microsoft does, because it seems like Nintendo has these very consumer-friendly ways of celebrating their IPs. Why do you think that stuff like this happens so frequently with Nintendo and is so popular, Dan?
I have no idea, but I eat it up. I mean, I was one of those people who did I don't know, it was like 25 or 10, 15 out of 25 tasks and got that second set of pins.
Yeah, you had little missions, right?
Yeah, you had to do missions, and one of them was order an ice cream. I don't eat ice cream. And there was just all these kind of things, and I don't wear pins and I don't put them up anywhere, but I was like, I have to get those things. I don't know what it is, but I think just because Nintendo IPs are so timeless, a Mario pin that Mario's been around for 35 years, so everything that Mario's done just kind of is always lasting with time over and over. So that's why I think they have this kind of relationship versus if you had any memorabilia for, I don't know, one of the Assassin's Creed games, it would kind of not age well. So I think that's where it goes with that.
Well, I did all my missions and I didn't get my pins, so I'm pretty mad about that.
The second wave was pretty easy.
So just some predictions from you guys. How well do you think this game's going to do based on the preview today and everything else? What are your predictions?
I think the preview today is going to make it go way, way better. I think it's going to bring the sales up just because it showed the speed golf, which looked really, really cool. Everybody starts at the same time, hits their ball, and then you have to run to your ball. You have stamina, you have power-ups, you have obstacles, and then whoever gets their ball in first wins the hole. So that looks like an absolute blast to me. And I think these kind of things online and being able to play with your friends, I think the sales are going to go through the roof for this and bring in people who normally wouldn't buy Mario Golf.
Yeah, I definitely have... Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead. I was just going to ask you if you had watched the trailer and if you had any thoughts on the game's success.
I didn't watch the latest trailer today because it was that kind of a day, but I will say that Dan really nailed it on the head. I think Mario Golf Nintendo back in the day came out with a lot of these fun little, sport like games, anywhere from Mario Golf, Mario Tennis, all the way to kind of the workout stuff that the Wii had. But anyway, I think Nintendo's doing a very good job selecting a lot of the older games that, again, like Dan said, have great opportunity if they were remade because we have online availability and because we're able to have new features. And I think personally that I'm glad that they went with Mario Golf first. I personally, like I said, I don't play golf, but I really enjoyed the original Mario Golf way more than I did Mario Tennis. I mean, that's just personally for me, but I just think that they made a wise choice with that game. I do think it's going to bring in even more fans beyond just the original diehards.
Yeah, Mario sports are great, and I would give my left arm for Mario Baseball. Well, maybe not my left arm; I wouldn't be able to play it. But I if Ed were here, he'd be agreeing with me. Mario Baseball, I think, is the greatest Mario sports game of all time, and I had both of them, for the GameCube and the Wii, and I just love those so much. So I'm still holding out hope that if Mario Golf is successful, that like you said, Stephanie, they'll go back and get some of those older games and bring them to Switch. So. All right, well, let's move on to another story here. So Apple is reportedly working on a Nintendo Switch-style hybrid console, at least according to some rumors that seem to have a little bit of teeth to them. So this is from Damian McFerrin from NintendoLife.com. Quote, Korean forum Klien is the source of this one, while a post stating that Apple is working on a hybrid console like the Switch, which will be powered by a new system on a chip that is not a part of Apple's A or M series. The chip will apparently showcase, quote, enhanced GPU performance and ray tracing support, and Ubisoft is one of the firms being consulted for its development. The problem here is the post didn't cite any source for this information. However, that didn't stop the rumor from circulating and gaining credence. However, sites like TechRadar, who are far more knowledgeable about this kind of thing, have poured some cold water in this particular rumor. As we've already established, Apple has historically not been all that interested in gaming hardware and instead prefers to use gaming software to entice customers to purchase other Apple products such as the iPhone or the iMac. So what do you all think about this story? Are you buying this? Is Apple really invested in its resources? Could it, if it did, could it compete and possibly take down the Switch, putting its brand behind something like that? Dan, I'll start with you. What do you think?
Well, I've learned a lot in the last couple of weeks when it comes to rumors. A certain person I know had interviewed the editor for Castlevania series to see what he would think about a Zelda anime. And this very, very cheeky and fun and just normal interview turned into articles snowballing and saying that the director of Castlevania is teasing a Zelda anime in a matter of days.
Yeah.
Yeah, or pitched it or anything. So, since I know the two people involved with that one and it turned into a meme, I'm looking at the stuff that like doesn't have any sources and doesn't have any legs behind it, and I am like, get this out of my face. I don't want to see anything for it. So this is where I stand on this one right now. What about you, Stephanie?
That's the perfect comment right there. I was just chuckling the whole time. It's true. Like the first things for in any sort of journalism or any sort of writing, like you need to put your sources there. If there's zero sources, it's like, well, all right, next. But I laugh because, and I was trying to do a little bit of research before this. Didn't Apple try to come out with some form of a console way back in the 90s? I think it was called Pippin or something. But I just know it failed massively. But if you want to look that up, see if I'm completely wrong and start a different rumor. But I love Apple. I have Apple products. I have a Mac. I have an iPhone. But I just don't know if they really are going to go with making a console to compete with the Switch. I mean, they already have the iPad, which is where, I don't know, I see everybody playing games on the iPad. It's portable. It's a touch screen. So I feel like they already have the hardware. And I just know that Apple traditionally has been more into developing software. So I they could do it if they wanted to. It's not a question of if they can, it's just why would they? And I just don't know if there's enough reason for them or enough, slice of the pie, for Apple.
Right.
Pie.
So just to piggyback off what you said, like the Apple Arcade is actually awesome. They have like fantastic games on there. That like if you have the Apple Arcade subscription, it's like you get all these games for free. So I actually wouldn't be surprised if they actually tried getting into this. I am looking at the Pippin right now too. That is
So
something
it's
that
real.
they tried.
It's not like a unicorn. Okay.
Yeah, it actually happened. But yeah, I mean, once the source comes out and maybe there's some legs behind this, yeah, I'll buy into it, but not just yet.
All right, thanks guys. I'm sorry about that. My headphones died. Hope you can hear me now.
Yep. You're good.
All right. So my 2 cents on that. I'm with what I think you guys were saying, which is that we're skeptical of this rumor here for now. But I do think it would be interesting to see what Apple could do, putting its full weight behind something like that, because they've got a lot of technical know-how. They've got access to the chips, right? So it would be interesting. And I know there's been rumors of several other companies trying to put technology into a hybrid console like that. So it'll be interesting. And I think if nothing else, it shows that Nintendo's had an impact on the market with the Switch as an idea. So
yeah, I have a quick question actually, because when I think of Apple and competition, and again, maybe I'm thinking more of a computer standpoint. I honestly think of Microsoft as a competitor. So, but if they're going towards a more portable console, then I guess Nintendo would be their primary competitor. But I wonder, say hypothetically, Apple does come out with a console. Do you think Microsoft or Xbox would kind of see that as a threat, or you think it would just be more of a rivalry between Apple and Nintendo?
I think that Apple and Nintendo have a similar culture in being willing to think outside of the box, and be a little bit more free-spirited in some of their, what they do. So in that sense, I see them as more aligned. But in terms of the history of, Apple competing with these summer big tech companies, it seems like there might be some reason for rivalry there too. I think it's an interesting question. What do you think, Dan?
That is an interesting question. I don't know. Like I think like Apple's not even competing with Steam right now. Like you can't play anything on PC. Like I would think that Apple would try to like go and get their Macs up and get some games on there to try anything. But if they did come out with a console, I would think that Nintendo would be the competitor for them, because they're not going to make the same kind of power that PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series is making right now. And if they're going portable and going to try to bring in indie content, I think that's where Nintendo's market is right now, and nobody else is really doing it.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, we're going to move on to our next story here. So Katy Perry and Pikachu's new music video, Electric. So this is from Michael McWhirter over at Polygon.com. Singer Katy Perry dropped her new single, Electric, on Thursday night, and the video for that song includes a very special guest star, Pikachu. It's cheery, adorable, includes lyrical references to the Pokemon anime's classic theme song, but the video also features plenty of shockingly reckless timeline manipulating machinations by Perry and Pikachu. In Electric, Pikachu and Katy Perry visit the Time Lighthouse, where the two travel back to alter the singer's past. We see a young Katy Perry jamming with Pichu at the most nascent stages of her career. Perry and Pikachu then alter reality by pushing the teenage version of the singer to enter a talent show and helping her to discover that sweet vintage statement jacket. Katy Perry's Electric is just one component of the Pokemon Company's musical celebration of the Pokemon franchise 25th anniversary. That digital album will release later this year and will include 14 inspired Pokemon tracks. So, wanted to ask you all what you think about this. What is it about the Pokemon franchise that lends itself to these kinds of pop culture collaborations? And are there other Nintendo IPs that the company could and should do this sort of thing with? So, Stephanie, what about you? Let's start with you.
Well, I'm very excited that they're coming out with, a 25th year, music, like it's the soundtrack, because I am a Zelda fan, and when the 25th anniversary came, they released that CD along with Skyward Sword, and that just was my life. So, and I'm also a Pokemon fan, mostly the original generation, to be honest with you. I did check out Katy Perry's song Electric. Originally, I was avoiding it because I just don't really like pop music too much. I'm just not a pop fan. I'm like, all right, I got to check it out. And I got to say, it's really fun. I think that they incorporated Pikachu and Pichu really well in there, and it's got very, very positive messages. And it's adaptable. Like Pokemon and non-Pokemon fans can listen and enjoy it. So I think it closes that gap between gamers and non-gamers, so to speak. But as far as the franchise itself, I mean, Pokemon's been around for a very, very long time, and I think throughout the various generations of Pokemon that got released, again, they're very adaptable. They're also catering to our people of our age. When we get older, we're kind of nostalgic for it. And also just kind of the theme of gotta catch 'em all. I don't know if it's gotta catch 'em all is being used more so now, but in the beginning, there's that kind of that collector's mentality, right? That I think a lot of people really like.
Right.
Dan, what about you?
I don't know. I think it's funny. Like this one doesn't feel as much like a random sentence generator as as Post Malone sings Hootie and the Blowfish for Pokemon Anniversary. So I don't know. It's cool. I just like seeing pop culture kind of get into gaming now. Whereas I think like 10, 15 years ago was a little more taboo. So like, even though this isn't for me, I'm all for it.
Any other franchises that you think Nintendo would be able to do this successfully? So I'm thinking with the new Super Mario movie coming out in 2022. I know that Mario Odyssey had that one kind of hit song. Shoot, I can't remember that, but the one with the singer that performs it at the end when you get to the celebration at the end of Super Mario Odyssey.
Like the Pauline.
Yeah. So I just wonder if there's any kind of potential for like a Pauline character with the Super Mario movie and some sort of pop singer there that becomes a hit song.
Oh, that'd be a cool idea.
So we'll see, but I do think Nintendo has a little bit of maybe like cultural cachet that maybe other companies don't have, and maybe that's part of it is because the folks that started out playing Nintendo, like you said, Stephanie, are kind of getting older, and so are becoming the target demographic for a lot of these things.
Yeah, and think about it. I mean, plenty of us at our age also have kids, and Pokemon is again a franchise that can cater to adults and kids. Kids can, it's very easy to get someone started and playing it, whereas getting to that mastery level that takes time and all that good stuff. But now that you asked, I'm trying to think. I would love, I know we'll be talking about this later, Donkey Kong, like a soundtrack to various Donkey Kong games. And I don't know, I'm thinking something along the lines of Animal Crossing or Harvest Moon franchise over time, like that very zen, mellow, atmospheric type music. I don't know. That's what I generally look for when I'm studying or working. I'll just YouTube soundtracks, and if and when the time come, I think those would be nice.
If Nintendo put out an Animal Crossing soundtrack, I would 100% buy that and listen to it while I work.
Yep.
The in New Horizons, I miss the little acoustic song they had before like your island got developed a little bit. I wish they would bring that back. I liked that one.
Absolutely. All right. Well, our last story, Stephanie hinted at it a little bit there. So rumor, dealing in lots of rumors today. The next Donkey Kong is being developed by the Super Mario Odyssey team. So this is also from Damian McFerrin, who must have gotten assigned to cover all the rumors for Nintendo Life. Donkey Kong is one of the oldest video game characters, and while the series has had some massive releases over the years, Donkey Kong Country and Donkey Kong 64 being two notable examples, the franchise has remained pretty dormant since Tropical Freeze, which made its debut on the Wii U back in 2014 before being ported to the Switch in 2018. However, there are rumors that Nintendo is looking to resurrect the series by bringing it in-house with development currently underway at Nintendo's EPD, the team responsible for Super Mario Odyssey. YouTube content creator Lonely Goomba has mentioned the rumor in passing on social media, and other sources have also discussed it. But Nintendo Life can confirm that it has heard the same rumor from an independent and very trusted source, which would appear to lend this report some degree of legitimacy. However, our source claims that the game will be 2D or 2.5D if you prefer, not 3D. Now, there is an update to this Nintendo Life story, which is really interesting. Highly respected Donkey Kong fan site DK Vine has chimed in on a report and adds the following information. Development of the new Donkey Kong game purportedly began around 2017 or in 2018 when Nintendo decided to bring Donkey Kong back internally for the first time since Nintendo's EAD's Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, although Jungle Beat was more of a stopgap than a permanent status quo. I've been led to believe that this is a new EPD team that has formed from other games specifically for the purpose of creating Donkey Kong games. And sorry to disappoint, I have no info on the 2D versus 3D debate. Exactly what kind of game it is has never been shared with me, except that it is a platformer of some sort. I've speculated the absence of information from my sources might indicate that it's some sort of hybrid, not exactly Donkey Kong Country, but not exactly a full 3D platformer either. But that's just an hypothesis, not an actual link. So I think it's interesting that this source seems to be confirmed. The story seems to be confirmed by a couple different sources who are pretty clear about the difference between hypothesis, leaks, and hard information. So Dan, we'll get started with you. What do you think about all these rumors, and are you buying this?
I'm buying into it a little bit more than the Apple one. Even though Lonely Goomba on Twitter just came out and said, "Why are people asking me about this?" I literally just said it offhand.
Oh, so, man.
He had just mentioned it on one of his episodes. He didn't say he had any information or anything like that. So that one's a little bit of a snowball. But I have seen leakers and stuff and talking about like a 2D Donkey Kong that's going to come out. We haven't seen anything since Tropical Freeze. This is one of their more beloved franchises. I couldn't imagine them sleeping on it any more than they already have. So yeah, I would like to see Donkey Kong, and I'm putting a little trust into this one.
All right. Can't imagine them sleeping on it, but have you heard of Metroid?
You stole my
Metroid. Nintendo hasn't even acknowledged Metroid. Like Donkey Kong is actually in games.
Oh man.
Stephanie, what do you think? How big would it be for Nintendo if they could resurrect Donkey Kong?
I think it would be massive. I mean, I am a bit biased. I'm a huge Donkey Kong fan. The trifecta of games that I loved growing up was Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, but the Zelda franchise, Star Fox 64, and Donkey Kong 64, which, by the way, playing Donkey Kong 64 now doesn't really hold up with the controls because it drives me bananas, no pun intended. But I just think it is such a fun game. I love all the different characters. It's fresh, it's different. Well, just like with all the major Nintendo IPs, everyone is very unique. It's like their own individual mascot, and I feel that, especially if it's from the creators of Super Mario Odyssey, I can definitely picture them trying to create a new mechanic of some sorts, and that's kind of how they'll, bring fans back. And like Dan said, it's been a while since Tropical Freeze, and I feel like, we're kind of due for a Donkey Kong game. What do you think, David?
I'm not terribly excited about another 2D platformer or 2.5D. A Donkey Kong Country that's like Super Mario Odyssey would get me really excited. That would be a game that I could pre-order, be really excited, make sure I want to play. The thing I loved about Super Mario Odyssey was that it was this 3D environment that you felt like you were really able to explore in a modern gaming setting. But then there was these moments where they lovingly looked back on the 2D when you would merge with the wall and play those classic levels. And it would be really great if they could pull that same thing off with Donkey Kong Country, right? To have this 3D really immersive environment, and then these certain moments where you had to do the platformer, riding the rhino or whatever, I think that would be awesome.
But how does Donkey Kong transition from that 2D to 3D? What would make it, like, what would give him enough energy to do it? Like, what would be different enough to make it 3D?
You mean in terms of the storyline, or in terms of like
just the gameplay? Like, you know how, I mean, like Mario Odyssey, you swung your cap and you captured enemies. What's that one on GameCube? Sunshine.
Sunshine.
Yeah. Okay. So Mario Sunshine, you had the flood with like the backpack. Like there was always a different gimmick. Mario Galaxy, or jumping planet to planet. Like there would need to be some sort of gimmick or something way different that would make Donkey Kong worth making 3D, right?
I don't agree. I don't think so though, because if you look at, for example, I don't know how much you've played the character Donkey Kong in Smash Brothers, but his kind of helicopter jump that allows him to get places, I think would be really awesome in a 3D setting. And I think you could make a really fun 3D platformer, and then you could think about the different members of the Kong family, that they could all jump differently. Diddy Kong could have his jetpacks.
Yes.
Or shooting his peanut gun. Like I think each character could have its own play style in a 3D environment. Not all that dissimilar from what we've done with Mario. Or another idea, look at what they did with Super Mario 3D World, where you have these limited levels that are essentially 2D, but in a 3D setting, if that makes sense, and maybe something like that would work really great.
That's a good idea. Yeah. I'd like to see it. I'd like to see something new. All these fresh ideas would be great.
And throwing some Donkey Kong pins, that'd be great. I would totally buy into that.
Well, we've reached the end of our news segment. Thank you guys for the good conversation. Dan?
Thanks, David.
Thanks. All right, so we'll just do a quick game fact advance. This is one of my favorite fun facts about Nintendo, or Nintendo game. So back in like 2015, the director of Captain Toad was interviewed by Polygon. And in his interview, he talked about the development of the game and how it's kind of a game where you're in this diorama levels featuring a character that was incapable of jumping. And since it involved exploring, the designers originally envisioned Link as the main character, since he's known for his dungeon exploring. So Captain Toad Treasure Tracker was supposed to be a Zelda game at first, but the game was initially scrapped because director Shinya Hirataki said in an interview that the development team wanted to explore small self-contained levels that could be studied and puzzled as a 3D camera. And we always thought about using Link, but Link was a little too courageous. So they went with little Captain Toad, and with his backpack holding him down, they found him to be the perfect character for this. And before they even turned it into a game, they wanted to see the reception of the levels, so they fit him into Mario 3D World, where people really loved it, and then it turned into a whole game on its own. So Captain Toad Treasure Tracker was supposed to be a Zelda game. How fun is that?
Wow.
Gosh, that is so interesting. Like I'm trying to think about what that kind of impact that would have had on the Zelda franchise. So what year was that?
So Treasure Tracker was released in 2014. I'm sure the prototypes were even a few years before that.
Okay, so that was just after Skyward Sword, like a few years, and then right in the middle of Breath of the Wild production. So I wonder if that would have been a shot in the arm, so to speak, for the sort of top-down Zelda. that's kind of, not really getting as much attention as those full immersive open world Zeldas. Like, I wonder if that would have started a separate track of development if it was a big hit, which I don't see why it wouldn't be.
Right.
Yeah.
And I wonder, because it came after Skyward Sword, I know there'd be a, a line of people banging on Nintendo's door and be like, where is it on the timeline? How does it fit?
And you never know too. I mean, like, people are they just go with the wind on everything. Like, Skyward Sword's reception wasn't great when it came out on the Wii, and then if it came out with this little diorama Zelda that
People
came
would have
out
been
after it,
like-
people would have gone nuts, or they would have loved it. Who knows? I mean, I personally really loved the Captain Toad game, like, way more than I should have.
I love it.
So, like,
It's such a great game.
it's so fun. It's so relaxing, and it's like, it's actually like pretty rewarding to do all the things that you need to do in it. But it would be really funny if it was a Zelda game.
I think it fits really well in the Mario universe, but I would not complain at all. I mean, I would play a Zelda mobile game, and I hate mobile games, so
I also thought that, like, when I was reading up on this, I was like, this would have been kind of like a cool Luigi's Mansion type of side game too, with like the vacuum and everything, and going through and finding gems. That would have been a cool idea too. But I mean, I'm not complaining. The game worked out fine.
And did it get? I'm trying to remember. Did it get its start in Mario 3D World, or did they incorporate that in as a result of it?
No, they used it. So its test run was Mario 3D World. They wanted to see
That's
the
right.
reception of it. And when the reception came back really good, they just turned it right into a game.
Okay, because so my experience with it is I played Toad's Treasure Tracker first, and then when Mario 3D World came to Switch, that was my first time seeing it in the game. So that's
that was me too. I first played Mario 3D World when it came out in February.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's really awesome to learn that, because it just further proves how well Nintendo really tests out in advance, things that they want to do in the future by sneaking them into prior games. Like, it's all about testing and using that feedback really well.
That makes me hope that we're gonna get a dungeon builder for Zelda with the way they did a similar thing in Link's Awakening, right? Like,
Yes.
they tested it in there, didn't roll it out very well, but maybe it'll be similar. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, they may have gotten good feedback on that too, because it actually was okay to build a dungeon, but nobody's going to build more since you can't share them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's a big part of it. You got to be able to share it to have fun.
Right. All right. Well, that's our Game Fact Advance. And we're going to take a quick break before we get into our docked mode.
Hello everybody, this your boy ADV. Sorry I couldn't make it tonight, but I just want to let you guys know that Tales of Symphonia is my favorite GameCube game, and GameCube is one of my all-time favorites. It's probably number 2. Alright, bye everybody.
All right, everybody, we're back, and we're going to talk all about the GameCube in our docked mode. The reason we came up with this just for today is because 20 years ago at E3 in 2001, crazy to think that was 20 years ago, GameCube was announced along with Smash Brothers Melee and Luigi's Mansion. So it's been 20 years since the GameCube came out, and when it came out, to me, it didn't really catch my eye or anything. I think I was 14 or 13 at the time, and I don't know, I may have thought I was too cool for it, but I ended up getting it anyway. But this came out alongside the PlayStation 2, and I think the first Xbox came out around the same time as well. So, let's kick right into it. Guys, what was your reaction when the GameCube came out, if you remember it, and what's your history with the GameCube? Go ahead, David, start it off.
Oh man, I loved my GameCube. I had there was that unusual one. I think they maybe like only sold it at Costco or something. I can't remember, but it was the platinum one that came in like a special bundle. So it was like that silver color. And I, some reason I lost my GameCube in a move, which just kills me. But I still have the Platinum controller.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's a sore spot, but I still have the Platinum controller that I keep and will hook up to my Wii if I'm ever playing, Brawl or whatever. But I think the GameCube didn't get the respect it deserved at the time. I think people, probably rightly at the time looked at it as backwards technology, Nintendo going in the wrong direction. What's with these little discs? But looking back, that was an awesome system. It had an incredible game library, which I know we'll talk more about in a minute here. It was super portable. It was great for playing with friends with the 4 hookups. I love that. I love that machine.
Yeah, and bringing up the 4 hookups, I think Nintendo at that time was focused so much on multiplayer too, because PlayStation only had the 2 hookups.
That's right.
Nintendo 64 had so much success on the Mario Kart, Smash Brothers, GoldenEye, that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think of that with GameCube.
And you could even hook your Game Boy Advance up to it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So for games like Four Swords Adventures, you could have people playing on their Game Boy Advance while you're playing on the TV, integrated all into one experience.
That's kind of a money commitment, though, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Stephanie, what about you? What did you think?
Just real quick on that, and because it's a personal opinion, but I kind of was a little turned off by that thought, because again, I was a Zelda fan. So when I heard of Four Swords, but then you need everyone needs a Game Boy Advance, and I thought, oh man, what a money suck. So that's why I was one of the few reasons why I didn't get the GameCube in the beginning. So yeah, I have an interesting history with it. I didn't get GameCube because PlayStation 2, the PS2 came out, and I can really only afford so much. I believe I was like 12 at that time. So I still was rocking the N64. That's really my baby right there. But I opted for the PS2. I wanted to kind of diversify because that was able to play DVDs too, right? So I'm like, all right, well, at least I can watch my movies and play games. So unfortunately, one or the other, PS2 won out. And also I was getting into I was finally I was getting into Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts, because I'm a big Disney geek. So the PS2 kind of stole my heart, but it's not just me, right? PS2 is one of the highest selling consoles in history, and
it's the number one.
The number one, okay, yeah. And I don't think it deserved it, but I know the GameCube is definitely on the lower rungs for sure. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with it. When I look back, I do like that small portable shape, the little handle. I mean, goodness, they came out with Wind Waker on it. But I wish I'd gotten it sooner, or I would have, played Metroid Prime, for example, but I missed out on all that.
But you got to remember too, what the PlayStation 2 had, as well as playing DVDs and CDs and stuff like that. So having those smaller CDs in the GameCube, you couldn't do that. And, I know it sounds silly now, but at that time, that was kind of a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But so I didn't get the GameCube then, but believe it or not, I bought the GameCube on eBay back in 2015, just so I could play Wind Waker, because that was the one major Zelda title that I had not played. I'm like, I played everything else, but I don't have Wind Waker. Let's go on eBay. Let's do it.
Nice.
Wind Waker, I think, is actually a great mascot for GameCube in some ways. It's a game that when it came out, people hated it. They mocked it. They said, what is this cartoony graphics of a game?
Because that was the cell shading, right?
That's right. Yeah.
First one.
People were thinking something along the lines of Twilight Princess, and they, got Wind Waker. But looking back now, Wind Waker is rightly recognized as one of the best Zelda games, in franchise history. And I think if you look at the library that GameCube had, Luigi's Mansion, Mario Kart Double Dash, I would argue with anybody, is one of the best Mario Kart games of all time.
It is the best Mario Kart game of all time. It's my favorite.
It's so good. So
why didn't they continue that? Having two on the cart.
Yeah.
They both have their own unique abilities. That was
so good. Maybe with E3 and Mario Kart 9 announcement, maybe I I'm going to say right now, I'll call right now, if Mario Kart 9 gets announced, we're going to get some sort of double dash capacity. That's my prediction.
Oh
But
man, we're gonna put you in the
yeah,
pocket,
probably
Metroid
not.
fans.
But and the Zelda bonus collection disc is another great collector's item from the GameCube era that had Legend of Zelda 1, Zelda 2. It had Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. That was the first place I actually played Majora's Mask, and then it had a demo for Wind Waker on that, and then of course the Metroid series on there. I just think looking back, like it did a lot right.
Yeah.
And Smash Brothers.
Yes, of course.
The one that people are still playing to this day.
Right.
And my personal least favorite Smash Brothers, but that's neither here nor there. So when it came out eventually, I was kind of in that sweet spot where like I was too old for Santa, but still young enough to get gifts. So for Christmas, I got a GameCube, and with it was Wind Waker. So my mom had bought it like 3 weeks in advance and left it in her closet, and she would work overnights because she worked at a hospital. So I used to just pop in her room, grab the GameCube, set it up, and play Wind Waker. Yeah, I had like 20 hours invested into Wind Waker before I opened it for Christmas.
What an evil child.
You get a lump of coal, Dan.
Yeah.
No, I ended up getting a GameCube. It was fantastic. So, yeah, I mean, that's always going to be that memory that sticks with me for GameCube. But
charcoal black GameCube.
Yeah.
But that thing was a tank too. I mean, I used to bring that everywhere because I would play Smash Brothers at my friend's house. I would drop it downstairs. I ended up bringing it to college with me, and it survived through a lot there, clearly. But like you were saying, David, the library was fantastic. It brought Metal Gear Solid over.
Yeah.
Like Twilight Princess was an amazing game. Wind Waker was a fantastic game.
Resident Evil 4 was on there.
That was the one I was just going to say. Like, Resident Evil 4 is my favorite Resident Evil. And, like, with how, which we haven't brought up, but the GameCube controller is the perfect controller. With the GameCube controller, Resident Evil 4 was even better that way. So, I mean, all of my memories are just so fond of the GameCube right now.
I wouldn't say that I would ever want to drop my GameCube on purpose, but I can totally believe that thing will last. If I drop my Switch, heaven forbid, I bet you that screen would shatter and I will just cry all week.
Oh, it would fall in slow motion too.
Yeah.
You just watch the thing go down. Yeah, exactly.
R.I.P.
Dan, it's interesting that you bring up the controller, though, because that's another way for us to really measure the impact of the GameCube is thinking about the Smash community today, which is so big, and the fact that there are, well, first custom made and now Nintendo produced GameCube controllers for the Switch speaks to the impact of how successful it was. And really, if you think about like the Pro design now, the Pro controller design and some of the other companies' designs of their controller, I think it owes a lot to GameCube. And I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe we can research, I believe that GameCube had some sort of patented technology for wireless at the time that other companies based theirs on or tried to get.
Yeah, they did. And they had this like crazy GameCube controller with a keyboard in between.
Yeah.
So Double Dash was actually one of the games that you could go online with. Mind you, this is like the 2002, 2003 era, so the internet wasn't fantastic, and you also had to wait for somebody else that had this wireless setup, because you actually had to hook up a pack to the back of it that hooked up to your router, and then you had to have the keyboard controller. So it wasn't easy, but it was actually capable of doing it, whereas the other systems weren't able to do it at the time.
Yeah, well, the very first Super Mario Baseball came out on GameCube, and God, I have so many good memories with that game. they had a great story mode, and one of the things that you could do over time was sort of collect your players and kind of recruit them to play for you. So, the Magic Koopas or the Hammer Bros like had certain talents, with their baseball ability, and you try to get them over on your team. And each stadium, kind of like Mario Kart, where it has its own themes for tracks, each stadium had its own kind of wonky thing, like piranha plants would be by the outfield wall and gobble up your home run balls or things like that. And so it just was so much fun. And my buddies in college would get together and create our own seasons by drafting players, and the whole dorm floor would play Mario Baseball. So that's a favorite for me looking back on it. And I was a little bit into Smash Brothers in Nintendo 64, but the Melee Smash Bros was the one that really got me hooked on that as well. So those would be two that I would say that I defined the GameCube experience for me.
Nice. Stephanie, what about you?
This will be short, but maybe I can, tell a cute little story. So yeah, I only have the GameCube with only the Wind Waker, and I'll spare the long, story about how much I love all things Zelda and all things about Wind Waker. And I have played some Smash because, I would go to a friend's house and they would have the GameCube. And I was excited for that because, I think that's when they first expanded the roster, right? Then 64 had a very limited roster. The basics, which is fine. Pikachu was my go-to anyway. But just to see the expanded roster, I was like, oh, man, this is the best ever. I want to play them all. So that's really the extent of the games that I've known or played. But the cute little story is that, and maybe this is what also deterred me from getting a GameCube back then, was my cousin came to visit from New Jersey and he brought over the GameCube. I'm like, oh, sweet, this system that I don't have. And he said, well, we're only going to play the games that I have, and I'm going to play Resident Evil 0. I'm like, ooh, what's Resident Evil? This is before I knew anything about Resident Evil. And here I am, like, I love Disney, I love Zelda, I love Pokemon. I'm like, okay. And, it plays out that scene where the people in the train get attacked. And I'm pretty sure I had a nightmare for weeks. And I avoided Resident Evil like the plague until more recently, where I can now go back and overcome my fear of zombies.
Oh, man. It was kind of a golden era for the sports games too, because it had strikers as well. So I didn't really have any underrated gems on there. I kind of stuck with the mainline series. I used to play Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles with my friends on that. Like, that was one of the more fun multiplayer games that I really played. As far as like Smash Brother goes, like, my friends and I played Smash Brothers from the time we had an N64 like through college, and I had the same Smash Brothers 64 cartridge through all that time, and every character had over 30,000 kills on it. Like,
oh my god.
Yeah, so like for my friends and I, it was a really difficult transition to go to Melee, and we couldn't get into it. So the Melee generation is just kind of one I skipped. Double Dash, I absolutely loved that game. And Twilight Princess is, aside from Breath of the Wild, Twilight Princess is my favorite Zelda game out there. I thought that was like the coolest game. It took everything Ocarina of Time did correctly, and it just made it better. The mechanics are great. I loved the weapons. I loved the dungeons. It was just so cool. And the graphics were like groundbreaking at the time too.
I always forget that it came out for the GameCube because I always played it on Wii.
Me too.
With the motion controls.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. So it was a launch game for the Wii, and in the GameCube version, Link is a lefty. He's holding the sword with his left hand, but in the Wii version, he's holding it with his right hand for the nunchuck. I just thought that was kind of a funny tidbit. Is he usually a righty or a lefty in the games?
He's usually a lefty.
He's left-handed, yeah, which is there's a whole thing about, the canonicity of whether Link's a righty or a lefty because of what Nintendo did, which, leave it to Zelda fans to argue about that. But
where does the Zelda fandom stand with this? Is he a lefty or a righty?
He should be left-handed.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. So, like, speaking of taking the good things and moving on with it, so did Nintendo take anything that they did well with the GameCube and move on and kind of use that? Like, how do you feel about the system since then? I know Wii was kind of an anomaly, bringing in casual gamers with the motion controls, but do you see any similarities or anything else that like the GameCube passed on as a legacy?
I don't really think I have too much to add here, but yeah, because they were working on the Wii, and that's just, a completely, new and innovative console, which is what Nintendo is known for. But I think that the GameCube, when they're looking back, that the controller was very easy to use. That's why you saw that come back. And also, and I could just be grasping at straws here, but because we went from Nintendo 64 to GameCube, right? So I think GameCube's where we first started seeing a lot of, in my personal opinion, a lot of games that you could play on that, but you can also play on PlayStation, like games with different platforms, so to speak. So that's not necessarily innovative, but I just feel like GameCube was like the first console where they started pushing for a difference, if that makes any sense.
Like Soul Calibur.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
one of those games.
Well, I mean, even with their own IPs, they kind of push for a difference there too. It's kind of when they started going off the same tracks. Like, I feel like Wind Waker was something so brand new to the Zelda IP, and like Mario Sunshine, which Ed absolutely loves that game. But Mario Sunshine, like that was also like really kind of new and groundbreaking to that IP. So I think, kind of just to piggyback off what you're saying and add to it, like I think GameCube is where Nintendo really started trying new and unique things and thinking outside of the box with their system and with their IPs. And since GameCube, they've been pretty courageous with their IPs and their consoles.
I agree with that, and I think they learned the lessons from the GameCube and mastered those with the Wii. And then they started buying their own hype too much, and we got the Wii U. And so, like, I feel like the Switch has been a nice balance point for them, where they realize, like, creativity, ingenuity, yes, but we still have to get it right. We can't just let ourselves sort of run wild with creativity, because, looking back, like, the concept of the Wii U was really great, but it was so poorly executed. That tablet was just horrible, that it very nearly put Nintendo out of business. So, you can kind of trace a lot of that back to their successful, what they did with the GameCube and the lessons they learned, throughout. And it's just interesting to think about Nintendo's history with consoles.
Yeah, I kind of think of it as, the NES, SNES is like, this kind of like the cycle of life. Like it's a newborn, a kid, then N64 kind of revolutionized like the whole 3D concept. So that's kind of like having a young child, like everything's all new and shiny and exciting. And then GameCube is like when you're a teenager where everything's kind of awkward, but you're learning, you're growing, things are awesome.
It was awkward.
You become an adult, you learn your lessons, you learn your mistakes, Wii U, and then you land at the Switch, maybe in your 30s, where when you start realizing like that perfect balance.
Yeah. The awkward GameCube years.
Yeah, and like actually when the Wii U came out, I was one of those people who skipped it, but at that point I was really thinking that Nintendo should just sell their IPs and not make consoles anymore. And the Switch really, I mean, Nintendo proved me wrong, as they usually do. But yeah, I agree with everything you said there, David, but I do really feel like GameCube is when they started to get creative and started getting brave too. So I mean, that kind of wraps it up for the GameCube and its legacy and everything. Do you guys have anything else you want to touch up on before we move on?
Was the GameCube the first time where they started doing different colors for their consoles? I know the Game Boy Color had variations, but in terms of like home consoles, I think that was the first time that you could buy different colored ones, because the Nintendo 64, Super Nintendo, and NES were all the same, right?
I think later N64 had colored controllers, because I have a gray one and I have a red one.
Oh, you're right. There was kind of that translucent ones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they had that like solid blue one too. Actually,
Okay.
N64 had a bunch of different
Yeah.
ones because I
Did
think
they? Okay.
I think they had like a yellow one for Donkey
Donkey
Kong.
Kong. Yeah.
You're right. Okay, never mind then. Yeah, I was just wondering about that, but you're right.
Yeah, they had a bunch of different ones. Oh,
Some
actually,
listeners are screaming somewhere about it right now. Somebody's
Yeah.
unhappy.
oh, this one's
I'm
really
sorry.
cool. I'm looking at them online right now, and there's a Pokemon one that's like blue on the top, yellow on the bottom, and has a Pikachu on it.
Oh man.
Oh man.
Yeah, they had the translucent ones. They had a couple of green ones. Oh, these are really cool. Now I want to buy a Pokemon N64. All right. Well, that was our docked mode. We miss you, GameCube, and I kind of now want to go on and buy one like you did, Stephanie, and play some of those older games.
Yeah, go on eBay. I feel that just real quick, since you mentioned that, when you look at older games and their resale value and stuff like that, I feel like a lot of the GameCube games either are hard to find, like I just feel like they're more rare than, I don't know, other consoles. I don't know why, but I seem to get that impression.
I don't think I've really looked for any older games. There was a brief period where I was going to collect Final Fantasy games and then got scared away at like the first price. So
Retro games during the pandemic have skyrocketed in price.
have they really?
It's been a weird little phenomenon.
There's been like a lot of collector's items that are going through the roof now too. Like baseball and football cards are now selling for crazy money on eBay.
I gotta check my stash.
Yeah, so I don't know, maybe that's a pandemic thing, or maybe just collector items are getting big, circling all the way back to our Nintendo pins conversation. So all right, well, that's it for our docked mode today. Before we get into playing with power, we have another fan question this week. So Celeste asked us on our Discord, should Nintendo bring back edutainment games? Celeste, who used to be on Nintendo Pow Block, who is a major fan of Mario is Missing.
Oh my God.
She is the only one out there. So thank you for the question, Celeste. And it actually kind of turned into a funny conversation because I started talking about Number Munchers, which I grew up playing, and found a website that actually plays Number Munchers. So, David, what do you think? Should they bring back the educational games or what?
Let's leave those in the past. I mean, like I say this as a teacher, but I just think there's so many options out there for people already. Like I would rather have Nintendo invest their resources elsewhere. All right, now that I'm saying it, let me pause for 1 minute and say that maybe from a business perspective, it's a way to implement their brand sooner with younger kids. If there was like I don't know, a Sesame Street or Nick Jr. kind of edu game that parents can get. Maybe that's another way Nintendo can corner the market, but certainly not from a gamer's perspective, but maybe from the company's perspective.
Yeah. What about you, Stephanie?
So I think there could be a perfect middle here. I'm not sure if there's enough skin in the game for Nintendo to do that as like a first party, like develop their own educational kind of games. But if they want to, port anything that's made out there or use a third party, that might be, possible. And the reason why I say this is because the Switch, again, in all its, glory and stuff like that, it's become really like an all-purpose console, right? You can watch YouTube on it. You can do so many things. So I just feel like because it's become, so handy with so many things beyond just games, here's another thing to throw onto it. And, I have a 5 going to be 6-year-old. He's already showing a lot of interest in the Switch. He likes to play Donut County. So I would certainly, as a parent as well as a gamer, I would totally buy into it if it's all wrapped up in one console. Perfect. Less devices around the house.
So that's an interesting point because right now, like LeapPad or something like that is kind of where those like edu games are. Like there's kind of like its own, I guess, cottage industry now. But maybe Nintendo could cut into that. If you're gonna buy video games for your kid and you're gonna buy them why not have it all in one place?
It would be nice. I mean, someone got my son a Leapfrog type educational game, toy, whatever. He won't he doesn't just get into it. I'm like, damn it. At least I didn't spend money on it.
Yeah.
I'm all for it as long as it's not as bad as Mario is Missing. You know what I mean? Like if they actually put a little care into it and make it like, why not? I'm sure parents would like you said, Stephanie, an all-purpose system. So.
I was gonna say you set the bar real low, Dan.
Yeah. Will it be compatible with the Switch calculator?
The $10 Switch calculator.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I saw people doing speed runs first to add up to 1,000 on the Switch calculator.
No
oh yeah.
That's a thing.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was really funny.
After this show, that's what I'm gonna look up.
Yeah, Switch calculator speed runs. That's what our podcast has turned into, guys.
This needs to be a pod clip just about Switch calculator.
We only recommend the best stuff, guys.
Yeah, the best. Speaking of recommending, let's get into playing with power. What are you guys playing right now, David?
Well, I've been a broken record the last few weeks, but I'm really getting close to finishing the batch of games up that I've been playing. So I am now on the final dungeon for Spirit Tracks. I gave up on 100%ing that game, and I'm just trying to beat it now. And not my favorite Zelda. And up next, I have Triforce Heroes, which I probably will like even less. But I'm trying to.
Why are you doing this to yourself?
Well, I know that Breath of the Wild 2 is coming up, Age of Calamity DLC is coming up, so I'm just trying to check some stuff off my Zelda bucket list in the meantime and stay up to date on these games because it's been a while since I played them. But my enjoyable time comes in the evenings after my kids are in bed. I've been playing through Xenoblade Chronicles, and I've been filling Dan in on that because Dan loves the game, and I think I'm legitimately making progress in the game, right, Dan? I'm getting farther.
Yeah, you probably get about 5 or 6 more chapters left, I'd say.
Okay. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, you're getting there. How about you, Stephanie?
Nice. But yeah, David, I'm kind of, I give you a lot of credit for that because I started that journey of checking all those Zelda game boxes, and I haven't gotten to Spirit Tracks yet. I just have one quick question. What do you think is better, Spirit Tracks or Phantom Hourglass?
Oh, Phantom Hourglass for sure. Now, Spirit Tracks looks better because Phantom Hourglass is the ugliest Zelda game possible. I mean, like, I don't know. They didn't even try to have nice graphics in that game. But Spirit Tracks, there's no overworld that you can kind of just explore. You're stuck on train tracks. Mm-hmm. So it's like on rails. And then when you get off on stops, you can kind of go explore and actually get out like a traditional Zelda game. And that function just doesn't work for me.
Got it. All right. Because I know a lot of people dump on Phantom Hourglass. And yeah, Temple of Ocean King makes me want to rip all my hair out. But I love Linebeck. He just makes it all worthwhile. Anyway, honestly, I haven't had a lot of time for games lately, but for Nintendo, for my Switch, I've been playing Gato Roboto, just hitting up that backlog list. And I've also played Batman, the Telltale series on my Switch as well. I got it on sale, and let me tell you, that definitely is one of those games that you don't want to play in handheld. It's so glitch. It's so bad. And this game is good, but it just doesn't translate. So I use it in docked mode, and it's a little bit better. But it's frustrating, especially since you have to master those quick time events. If you miss a button, then you die. And also, I'm kind of used to quick time events on my PS4, and the buttons are inverted of what's usually the action button and the cancel button. And so I always get them messed up. But I really love those type of games. You get to kind of choose your own action and course. So I'm enjoying it minus the glitches. Nice. How about you, Dan?
So I feel like I've been kind of burnt out with games lately. So I've really just I finished Picross S4. So I've now downloaded Picross S6, which is exactly like S4 with new puzzles. So that's great. Music is equally as bad, if not worse. And on my phone, I've been playing Donut County.
Yes.
I read your review, Stephanie, on Boss Rush Games. And I needed something that was a little relaxing and just like something I didn't have to fully be engrossed in. And I'm actually loving this game so much. I love the banter in between levels. You're a raccoon named BK just talking about like he's just really funny. Everything's kind of funny about the game. You have a Trashopedia that describes everything like hilariously. So I'm really enjoying this. It's a nice like middle ground for, the next big game I play.
Yes, I just pulled up the review because I posted some pictures about some of the stuff BK says, and one of them is, "Dude, I'm not gonna kiss your dirty chicken," and the other one is, "I hate wiping my butt."
It's so good. The writing in that is so good.
Brilliant. Yeah.
So that's what everybody's been playing with Power. Let's get into plugs. David, where can we find you?
You can find me at David Lasby on Twitter. I also write articles for ZeldaDungeon.net and, of course, BossRushGames.com.
Stephanie?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Klimov, KLIMOV_author. And I also write for Boss Rush.
And I also write for Boss Rush, but you can find me on Twitter at DCDM99. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. That was a great show. Let us know what you think about the GameCube on our Twitter or on our Discord. So have a great night.
Till next time.
Bye, everyone.